for you. This is for your presentation.
We're good. Did Josh say good?
Are we good? Good evening. I'd like to call our session to order. We'll first start with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Madam Chair, since we have a new member seated as a member of the Zoning Hearing Board, welcome, Mr. Bernal. It's appropriate for the board to reorganize. So at this time, I would ask if there are any nominations for the office of Chair of the Zoning Hearing Board.
I wish to nominate my dear associate.
So a nomination for Ms. Woodard. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Is there any discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Madam Chair, it would be appropriate to take a nomination for the secretary at this time.
Yes, I'd like to make a nomination for Secretary, my dear colleague.
Is that Mr.
I
Gwynn?
will-
Oh, I'm
accept.
sorry, Bob Gwynn. I'm sorry. I'm so
All
sorry.
right, so we have a nomination for Mr. Gwynn. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Also, I think, based on our conversation at the last hearing, it's this board's practice to appoint all members of the hearing board individually as hearing officers if the need arises to have an individual member hear an application. At the last hearing, Ms. Woodard and Mr. Gwynn were appointed as hearing officers. It would, if the board desires, it would be appropriate at this time to entertain a motion to appoint Mr. Bertle and Mr. McIntyre as hearing officers as well.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt it.
A second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so appointed. If you don't mind, I'll just move right into announcements.
Yes, please.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to,
Did you pick up Kyle? Did you pick up Kyle too?
Did you pick up comments?
yes. So if you'd like, you can step down. Move forward. So as we move forward tonight, the board will announce that it met in executive session prior to this hearing to discuss questions of law related to this evening's applications. Also, for the procedures for this evening's meeting, there are two ways to participate in this evening's hearings. The first is at the end of each application, we will take public comment from any individual present who would like to make a statement in support or in opposition to the relief being requested on that application. If you feel as though you have been particularly affected or will be particularly affected by the application, you can request what's called party status. Party status will allow you to participate more fully in this in these proceedings, including presenting your own evidence, asking questions of the applicants and other parties' witnesses. You will be entitled to receive a copy of the written decision. And if you disagree with the decision of the board, you will be able to take an appeal to the Court of Common Pleas. And we will ask for party status at the beginning of each application. If you plan to request party status for any of the applications this evening, there are forms up on the small table next to the entrance door. We would ask you to fill that out in advance. That allows us to keep track of who requested party status and also to be able to contact you with those copies of decisions and other rights and obligations that you have once you take party status. One other announcement this evening is application 2-4 of 24, which is for 740 Westwood, or 741. That has been continued to the March hearing date and will be renoticed and reposted So if you're here this evening for that particular application, that will not be heard this evening. For the first hearing, 1-6, Mr. McIntyre, alternate, will be seated, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Gwynn to commence the hearing and read the notice. Oh, do you want me to read the notice?
Yeah, please.
First hearing, 1-6 of 24, Kiss from a Rose Floral and Balloon Design LLC for the property situate 105 South State Road, Upper Darby, Pennsylvania, C1 Commercial District in the 4th Council District, requesting the following relief: a variance from Section 550-33A to permit fewer than the required number of off-street parking spaces, a variance from Section 550-8A to permit a conference center, banquet facility, and instructional school in a C1 zoning district, and a variance from Section 550-8B to permit more than one permitted principal use on the same lot. Before we begin, the board will mark the following exhibits. ZHB1 will be the application packet, ZHB2 will be the notice photos, and ZHB3 will be the proof of publication. Council has also handed up pre-marked exhibits, applicants A1 through A10. And before we begin, is there any persons or parties here this evening requesting party status for this application? All right, seeing none, I'll turn it over to Mr. Livesey.
Thank you very much, Council. And I wanted to say good evening, everybody. Thank you for the time, to the board members and to the solicitor. My name is Sean Livesey. I represent the applicant in this application, Kiss from a Rose Floral and Balloon Design LLC, whose owner is named Deborah Woodard. The applicant proposes to change the use of the property located at 105 South State Street, State Road, to from its current use as a vacant space to a use for private events and for general training space. The proposed private events generally will include floral arrangement training, small business meetings, mindfulness training, small social gatherings, et cetera. We are requesting a variance. First of all, variances to allow the two primary uses, which we've just reviewed, and also a variance to allow two primary uses on a single piece of property. The third variance that we're asking for is a parking variance. However, I want to actually just clear this at the outset. We're seeking this variance in an abundance of caution because based on our calculations, we believe that we satisfy the criteria for the requisite number of parking spaces, which we will go into. But I wanted to leave this as our request just in case there are issues that the board wanted to address, particularly because of the fact that we have two proposed uses in one spot. So without further ado, I'd like to call my witness, Deborah Woodard, at this time.
Thank you. If Ms. Woodard can be sworn. Thank you.
State your full name, please.
Yes, hi, my name is Deborah Woodard,
Spell those names for me.
DBRAWOODARD.
And will you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give will be the truth? Nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, so to make it easier, as Ms. Woodard knows, if one of you can stay at the podium and if the other one wants to sit in the first chair and use that microphone, just so we can get you on the audio.
Okay, Ms. Woodard, could you please state your address?
My business address,
Your business address works.
107 South State Road, 105 South State Road.
Okay, and at 107 South State Road, that's a currently operating business?
Yes, it is.
And what is it called?
Kiss from a Rose Floral and Balloon Design.
Okay, can you tell me a little bit about that business?
Sure, it is, Kiss Far is a full-scale floral design business in addition to doing balloon decor, and I am a certified event planner.
Okay, great, thank you. And approximately when did the Floral Boutique open?
We officially opened in 2019.
Okay, thank you. And then this application relates to the adjacent property 105, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and can you explain for the board the type of business that you'd like to run in 105?
What I would like to do is open it up to training classes. And my focus is mindfulness. A lot of times people will ask, oh, Dad, why don't you do some floral design? Why don't you do some bow making? And so I thought about doing floral design because it is peaceful, it relates to mindfulness, and people just like seeing their creation after they're done. In addition to that, I wanted to also offer yoga classes, candle making classes, and so that's the training component of the place at 105. In addition to that, I wanted to open it up to limited event space. My sister died last year, and we had just finished painting and doing everything, and we needed a place for a repast for my family. It was a small group, and I was like, oh wow, I could have it here instead of at my house. And so people have asked me, even just seeing the space, walking by, is it for rent? Now, obviously, I cannot rent it, but that's why I'm applying for the variance to offer these types of services.
Okay, and would these, you described trainings as one component, and then the event space as kind of a second component, which is
Yes.
the basis
yes.
for our application. Would these two uses ever operate simultaneously at the same time?
No,
Okay, so there wouldn't be an issue where we had a training going on with an event, and we have all these people trying to do this.
no, absolutely
They're
not.
mutually exclusive.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take us through the exhibit book right now. Okay, so if I can turn your attention to Exhibit A2, applicant's Exhibit A2. Can you identify that document for me?
Sure. Give me a sec. So A2 is the commercial lease between myself and the landlord.
Okay, thank you. And the landlord's name is called, what's the landlord's name?
Diligence PA LLC.
Okay. Can you just flip quickly to the end to A10? That's the deed to the property. Can you confirm that this deed is in fact to the property in question and names Diligence PA LLC as the owner?
Sorry, I'm turning. so
No
slow.
problem. Take your time.
You said that it's in A2?
Oh, no, A10,
Oh,
the
10.
very last
I'm sorry, I
exhibit.
thought you
Sorry, it's
said
the
2.
the deed.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. And then just turning back then to A2, which is the lease. If you go to the second page of the lease. Oops, sorry. It is page 5 of the lease. At the top, does the lease permit you to do the type of use that we're proposing today? Can you read that
Yes,
provision?
it's outlined. It says an event space conference center / banquet facility for provision of a variety of classes, instructional training, meetings, and small gatherings.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, if we could turn then to A3A, please. Can you tell me what this is a photo of here?
Okay, so A3A is an older photo of the storefront, both 105 and 107.
Okay, and the property in question, is that the property to the left of the florist sign?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. Immediately to the left?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. And does the next photo show from a different angle the same site?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. If you could turn to Exhibit A3B, can you tell me what these photos depict? There's about 6 of them.
Sure. So these photos depict the setup of a function there with tables and chairs, and this was my sister's repast.
Okay. So does this appropriately capture, adequately capture kind of what the space will look like when it's being used for private events?
Yeah, so that captures the front part of the space when it's in use, and then the other pages depict it being empty with nothing, no chair or table setups whatsoever.
Right, and so that open space is that ideal for the type of training proposed?
Yes.
Okay. Just keep moving along. Can you look, please, at Exhibit A3C? Can you tell me what those photos are?
Sorry. A3C
I'm just trying to go in order.
is the posting, yeah, okay. A3C is the posting that I had to put up on 105 to apply for the variance.
Okay, and that was up for the requisite amount of time as directed by the township?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, thank you. Now, to give the board a sense for the space itself, can we turn to Exhibit A4? Can you tell me what that is?
So that's my PowerPoint architectural floor plan of the
Yes.
space. You come in the door from State Road, that's where the entrance is shown, and it's just open from left to right, and it goes all the way back to the end of the building, and it has a very large bathroom, as you can see, 8 by 6, and it's just open space.
Yes, okay, thank you. And it's a small, kind of narrow space
The-
proportionally, correct?
The building is narrow. All of them are the same size.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, and now if we could look to tab A5, the applicant's Exhibit 5. Can you tell me, does this depict an aerial of the block where the property is located?
Yes, it does.
Okay, and can you tell me, are there 12 parking spaces with meters in front of your proposed the property in question today within 200 feet of the entrance?
Yes, it is, 12.
12 spots, okay, thank you. Now, if we could turn to tab A6, can you tell me what this letter is?
Yes, this is a letter that Makosi, who manages the property for due diligence, sent on my behalf, just reconfirming what the space could be used for.
Okay,
That
thank,
I've been a long time tenant.
so, and is Makosi Realtors, is that the management company for
Yes, it
the
is.
building? Okay.
Yes.
And actually, I want to direct your attention back to Exhibit 5. So this is the exhibit that shows the aerial, it shows the parking. Is there also street parking across State Street?
Yes.
State Road, South State Road from the building?
Yes, it is.
There is. Is there also public transport right at the corner with a bus stop right there?
Yes, there's several bus stops at both ends of the corner and across the street. Yes.
Okay, and do a lot of your customers, and would you anticipate a lot of your customers to use rideshare or carpool?
Yes,
Okay.
they have, yes.
All right, thank you. So moving on to Exhibit A7A. Now this is a code section. Can you tell me, is this section 550-33 of the zoning code?
Correct.
Okay. And can you tell me, does it provide that on, let's see, the third page here, that a hotel, conference center, or banquet facility is required to have 1 parking space per 150 square feet of usable area?
Yes,
Okay, and does this list also provide at the very end that all other uses not listed are to provide the same parking, which is 1 space per 150 square feet
Yes.
usable area?
yes.
Okay, thank you. Oh, and also, in your opinion, would the educational or the instructive use fall under the all other uses category, as there's not a specific parking requirement for that use?
Yes, I agree.
Okay, thank you. Now, if I can point you to subsection C within that same code provision. Subsection C1A, does that provide that metered parking within 200 feet of the entrance affords the property owner 1/2 credit toward the parking requirement?
Yes,
And so in your opinion, would that mean that with the 12 spaces that you identified within 200 feet that have meters outside of this building, that ultimately you'll be providing 6 parking spaces?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now can I, let's see. Let's just keep going. Direct you to Exhibit A7B, please. Can you tell me what this code section is?
I'm sorry, just taking a minute. Okay. Okay. A7B, table of permitted uses?
Yes, the table of permitted uses. Okay, and can you confirm that permitted use, based on that table, that permitted uses in the C1 district where the property is located include museum or cultural exhibit, rehab or physical therapy, community or recreation center, artist studio, animal grooming, barber shop, daycare, art studio, fitness center, among other things?
Yes,
Those are all permitted in the district?
yes,
Okay, and just with particular emphasis on the fitness center and daycare uses, and as well as, as well as the physical therapy use, would you say that those uses approximate the type of use that you're actually proposing?
yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and can I turn your attention now to Exhibit A7C? Subsection A, which speaks to the intent of the C1 zoning district, is that correct?
A7C, I'm sorry, what was that
No,
section?
I'm sorry about this, I understand.
A7C, which one?
A7C, okay, so it's, which is Code Section 550-21,
Yes.
correct? Okay, and does subsection A relate to the intent?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and is the intent of the district to provide appropriate locations for convenience-type commercial and service uses, primarily to meet the needs of individuals living in the immediate neighborhood of the C1 district?
Yes,
Okay, would you say that what you're proposing here does just that?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Can I turn your attention to Exhibit A8? Is that an accurate depiction of this relevant section of the zoning map?
Yes,
And does it identify the property correctly with the X?
yes,
And is that property within the C1 district?
yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. Look to Exhibit A9. Is that an accurate depiction of the property record, official record with the county for the property?
Yes,
Yes, thank you. Okay, now a few questions about the space. Ms. Woodard, is the space suitable for the proposed use?
yes, it is.
Is it in the public interest to have this type of space and use available to the public?
Yes, it is.
What other uses are in the vicinity of 105 South State Road?
So we have to my right, my immediate right, there is a hair salon. The corner, there is a barber shop. Going back up to my left, the flower shop. 1, 2, 3 vacant buildings, and then we have a another barber shop and Rick's, and then we have Mickey's, that is a tavern, and then we have a convenience store.
Okay, thank you. So is it safe to say that there's an assortment of commercial uses?
Yes, there is.
There's not just one homogeneous type of use or a set of offices or
No,
something like
not
that?
at all.
Okay. Would you say that the use that we're proposing does in fact align with the permitted uses as we reviewed previously?
Absolutely.
Yes. Is the use that we're proposing likely to add congestion to the area?
No.
Why not?
It's not, it wouldn't be a high trafficked space. And when things are going on in there, I would time them such that there's space in between, but I don't anticipate having more than one anything. Unless there were a training class, there might be an AM and a PM class going on, but the capacity for the class is not a large number.
Okay, well, while we're talking about that, are there some restrictions generally that you would place on class?
Yeah, so for
Size.
class trainings, I'd say between 20, 25, and we have the rectangular tables and chairs for training, like a classroom style setup for, say, if it were, obviously, if it were for meditation, for yoga, for physical movement, that would be just open space, so the entire space is open and available, and we would not have more than maybe, I'd say 20.
Okay,
And then if it were, I'm using Repass as the example because of my personal experience, I think the capacity would be capped at 40
okay,
because it's a small space, but inside, by nothing being in there, I mean, it's large, and obviously we have filled it with tables and chairs, and it was enough space to move around and safe.
right. So in general, would you classify this as a low-impact type of use?
Absolutely.
And speaking of this, this use that we think would work here, have other uses succeeded in this particular property? Any permitted or not over the last 14+ years?
No, it's been, prior to me going in there, the space has been vacant for 14 years, both locations, 105 and 107, and I came in and I improved the space.
And no permitted uses have been able to remain?
Succeed, no.
No success, okay, okay. Are there unique circumstances around the property, particularly the shape of the property, that make it particularly useful for what you're proposing and not usable for what is actually permitted in the district?
I think for what I'm proposing, because it's open, straight through, it's like buying a house, it's just a straight through, open airway. You can put your chairs up and tables up and sit them down, and so that will afford us to do trainings and to do classes, and it's a quick turnaround with putting them up and bringing them down.
Yes, so it's ideal for the multi-purpose type
Yes,
use that
it
we're
is.
talking about. So if we had a permitted use that we were proposing, is it not likely that we would have to do some kind of fit-out work or something that would,
Yes,
but that's not the case here, right?
it's not.
Okay. And as you said, it's narrow, it's 16 feet wide, so it's honestly not an ideal space for most other
For
things.
most, right.
Right, okay. Would you say that the use that you're proposing would alter the essential character of the neighborhood?
No, not at all.
Okay. And given the fact that the uses that we're proposing are consistent with the permitted uses and there are no dimensional variances requested, would you say that the use that's proposed is the minimum that's required to afford relief?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions. Turn it over to the board.
Does anybody on the board have any further questions with this individual? Is there any-
Okay.
Just have one. Is there any cooking that's done there?
No, this will be a facility where there is a countertop and there is a sink. There's no microwave. It's not imposed to, people should bring their whatever edibles. If I do a class, I would have water and snacks, but if people want to bring in their own food, I don't have a problem with that being done. There's no cooking appliances whatsoever for
Thank you.
safety reasons.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else from the board?
Anybody else?
Public comment? Or do you we'll take
Is there anybody?
public comment, if anybody has any public comment on this application, statements in support or against?
Yes, how you doing? I'm Travis Boss. I would love to,
Please come up to the
Can you
mic.
come up to the microphone, please?
Get sworn in.
my name, yes, you want to swear me in?
Well, I'm sorry, did you ask for party status?
Yes, I asked for party status for Madam's Chair.
For this
Chair.
application?
Correct. I have
Um,
the form here.
So I did call for party status at the outset of the application. Were you in the
I
room at that
probably, I
point?
probably missed it. You know,
Okay.
just coming in late. We had to climb the stairs. The elevators are out of service.
Understood.
Okay.
Your address?
739 Westwood Lane, Alden, PA, 19018.
So you're about 3 miles from the subject property, is that correct?
Yes, still in the same area. Just want to know what's going on in my area in regards to variances and everything.
So being 3 miles, which under the law is a fairly large distance, could you state for the record how you believe that you're particularly affected by this application based on where you live within the township?
Well, I am going into real estate, buying property, so I am attending classes at Foley Associates, hired by Keller Williams, and looking to buy property all around in my area. So yes, that would be a interest to me.
Okay, so party status, since maybe you missed this at the outset, is a way to participate in this particular hearing related to the particular property at 705 South State Road. And it's for persons who are particularly affected or in very close proximity to the property. And that's to present evidence, ask questions of the witness, and potentially take an appeal. So a general interest in the application would not afford you party status. You have to have some type of interest that is beyond the general citizenry.
Well, that was my interest. Are you denying me party status?
I'm trying to understand if there's any reason that you would be eligible for party status for this application.
My interest is in the township of Upper Darby and looking to buy property, real property, even in the C1 district. R2, R3, anywhere in this community. I thought that it was open to the public and I would be allowed that status if I requested it.
Okay. Mr. Livesay, do you have any questions for Mr. Bose before I make a recommendation to the board?
Do you own any real estate within 3 miles of the property?
Within 3 miles, he just looked it up. He just,
You don't own any other real estate within 3 miles?
not at this
Okay.
current,
No further questions.
okay.
Um, Based on the distance and the statements, I would recommend against a grant of party status in this instance.
I agree.
Is there any objection from the board?
No.
So, Mr. Bose, we're not going to grant you party status for this application, but you, at this time, since we are in public comment, you are welcome to make a statement in support or in opposition to the relief requested in this application.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Board. Appreciate it.
Would you like to make a statement?
The only statement, I
Well,
wanted
if you'd
to
like to make a statement, we're going to have you sworn in.
Okay, well, there's no statement currently right now in regards to being denied the party status request that I asked. I mean, I jogged 3 miles. You know, I'm quite sure a lot of people may jog 3 to 4 miles. I don't know why I would be denied in any kind of way of being a party. It does not give you any stipulations on who can and cannot request party status. You did not make that statement at the beginning. You know, if a person, you know, lived 3 miles, if you live 10 miles, you cannot request party status. That wasn't clear, that wasn't made clear at the beginning of the hearing. So I'm just a bit confused and concerned with the fact that you guys denied it. That's all.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Is there any further public comment on this application? Sure, if you'd like to come forward, one at a time. Okay. So if you can, once you get to the microphone, if you can state your name and then we'll have you sworn in.
I'm Angie Jones Womack. Jones, Jones hyphen Womack, Womack.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. So I've met Deb many years ago. I had my own personal fitness studio in Lansdowne for many years. And I met her there, and I knew as she was starting her business, the floral business, I've attended one of her floral arrangement classes, which was like probably one of the nicest events that I've ever attended. Very peaceful and tranquil. Learned a lot, and you know, it was something that I feel is probably really needed in our communities with the stress that we're all under, and even being able to, she's taken yoga classes with me and done some things, personal training with me as well. And so she was proposing that maybe I could do some of the classes. I've been in business over 20 years. And I just think that she has a excellent mind for business and executes it very well. And I'm just speaking in support of her business and how well it was received by the people that were in that class.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jones-Womack. Again, when you get to the microphone, if you can state your name and we'll have you sworn in.
Okay, my name is Anthony Burbage. Burbage, B-U-R-B-A-G-E.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
So if you can make your statement in support or against the or
I'm
opposition.
here for support. I've been living at 119 South State Road since about 2012. And the building was vacant for a while, but Ms. Dab came in, like revamped it, brought life to that end of the block. And everything has been like good and professional. And she's always been good with us. There's never been an issue with the flower shop or the event space next door.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Burgess.
Thank you.
Any further public comment? Mr. Chair, if
Seeing none,
we can, would council like to surmise, or are you good? Okay. It's in the board's hands.
I'd like to make it a motion to accept this application.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Seeing none opposed.
You've been approved.
The application is approved. You will be issued a written decision within 45 days of tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
While we get resituated here, we will invite 2-1 of 24. I don't know if you have counsel or should have counsel. It's New Heights Learning Center, 7401. Oh, okay. Mr. McCreesh. Good evening, Mr. McCreesh. How are you?
Good evening. Good evening, council. Thank you.
We'll just wait till we're reseated here.
I think it's
2-1.
2-1.
7401 Westchester Pike. We'll give her-
With that,
Let's make an entrance.
Madam Chair.
Sorry, just get back to where we were. I'm sorry.
Doing 2-1.
Take your time and you can go when you're ready.
Moving on to application 2-1 of 24 of New Heights Learning Center LLC for a variance from section 550-33A to allow 0 off-street parking spaces where 5 are required and to allow 0 passenger loading spaces where 3 are required. This property is situated at 7401 Westchester Pike in Upper Darby. It's a C1 commercial district in the 5th Council District.
All right, before we begin, the board will enter the following exhibits. ZHB 1 will be the application packet, ZHB 2 will be the notice photos, and ZHB 3 will be proof of publication. At this time, is there anyone who is requesting party status for application 2-1 of 24, 7401 Westchester Pike? Okay, seeing none, Mr. McCreish, the floor is yours.
Yes, good evening. Thank you. I represent New Heights Learning Center LLC. Over at the table there is, you want to spell your name for them? Tyshana Walker.
There's like where it says push on the base of that, just to make the green light come on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, and sitting next to her is Troy Hartsfield, who is the member of 7401 Westchester Pike LLC, which is the owner of the property. The application is first too, it's on Westchester Pike on the corner of Sunshine, which is maybe 4 or 5 blocks up from here, going on the right-hand side as you're going west. If you've seen the property in some of the pictures, you know Mr. Hartsfield bought it about 2 years ago and fixed it up. He put a lot of money into it. You can see above it there are 4 apartment units. The ground floor is currently vacant and has been vacant for a while. Ms. Walker is proposing to put in a daycare center there. She operates another daycare center at 6500 Lansdowne Avenue in Philadelphia, which is just maybe a mile or 2 away, maybe 5 minutes down State Road. She's been certified by the state in and she brought those certifications today. I can hand them up if you want to see them, but for food, for children, for Penn State, for she can go over a few of her qualifications. The space has 1,225 square feet approximately. The amount of, once it gets approved, hopefully if it does get approved, the state has to go out and look, and there's a process, but how many, she can explain more in depth, but how many employees you need per children and how old the children are, you might need more. She anticipates maybe 3 or 4 employees there. They would be open 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. most likely. They would have maybe the maximum of about 20 children. They also, with their other place on 6500 Lansdowne, they provide pickup for the children. So they pick the children up and drop them off. So there's not a lot of a lot of the parents aren't actually coming to the location. There is parking all along as you go up Westchester Pike. There's meter parking all along Westchester Pike. And I'll just ask Ms. Walker a couple questions. Ms. Walker, how long have you been in the?
Well, we need to have the witnesses sworn.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought
We can swear them both in at this point.
Okay. And Ms. Walker, how long have you been in the daycare business?
For about 3 years now.
Okay. And how many, you said, I know you have the one location at 6500 Lance? Will you have any other locations?
Yes.
Hold on.
Yeah, just
Just
Ms.
some-
Walker.
Yeah, just some
Ms.
ground
Walker.
rules. One witness at a time, and if you can both make sure that you have a microphone close to you, just because we have a window open here, and this room's huge, and we just need to be able to hear you. Thank you.
Apologize.
Okay, how many locations, Ms. Walker?
We currently have, so we have 4 locations. We have 2 that's already operating, and then we have 2 that we are in the process of operating. I have to, like, tomorrow, I have the state come out to one of the locations to finalize. So we'll have 3 tomorrow if we pass that inspection. And
Okay, and where are the other businesses?
one is in Southwest Philadelphia. We have one in, I'm sorry, I'm nervous. I'm so sorry. One in Southwest Philadelphia. We have one on Lancaster Avenue. That's in West Philadelphia as well, I believe. I'm sorry. So what, can he speak? I'm sorry.
Can I?
No, that's okay.
He's a little better at, I'm nervous. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. She's a little nervous. She doesn't like public speaking and things of that nature. But we have one in Brewerytown on 2722 West Girard Avenue. We have one on 611 South 56th Street in Philadelphia. And we have 16503 Lansdowne Avenue. That's being the closest to this particular building.
Okay. And Ms. Walker, how many children do you think would be at this location?
No, depending on the state, no more than 25, just based off of what I know from the square footage of the building.
Okay. And what would your hours be?
6 a.m. till 6 p.m.
Okay. And would that be 7 days a week or 5 days a week?
I believe it will be 7 days a week, but there's not really, weekend care is not really, it's never really active, so mainly Monday through Friday.
Okay. And you provide pickup service for the
Pick up and drop off service. for
pickup
the
and
children.
drop off? Okay. You do that at all the locations?
Yes.
Okay. Do most of the children get to the location by the pickup service?
Yes, that
Okay.
is a benefit for the parents.
And you gave me some certificates and some licenses you currently have. Do you just want to, could you just tell them what kind of, what you brought there?
Yeah, so these are just the certificates required by the state to operate, well, to own and operate a daycare business. You have to have a safe serve certificate because you are providing breakfast and lunch for the children. So that's a certificate saying that you are allowed to serve food. You have to take all of the state required training classes. You have to have a CPR, you have to, I have that, I have all of these things. I'm sorry, you have to have, of course, your child abuse clearances, your clearance from the, I'm sorry, the National Sex Offenders Registry. I have the food and safety certificate from the state. I pretty much have just everything that is required from the state to own and operate a daycare facility.
Okay, I don't have any more questions of Ms. Walker, and I would like to, we can hand up these certificates, and she can print more of them. She has them on the computer.
We have at least one copy of them.
I have one copy.
Okay. We'll mark them collectively as A1.
Thank
Can I ask one quick question of the witness? Ms. Walker, can you explain this pickup and drop-off services that you offer? How does that work? What vehicles do you use? Where do they drop off students, pick them up at the daycare facilities?
So we have our own personal vans that we pick up the children in. The children are picked up from their homes in the morning, and they are brought to the daycare facility. A lot of them are before school and after school children. So in the morning, like I said, we pick them up from their homes. We bring them to the facility. We then take them from the daycare and we take them to, school, daycare. I mean, not daycare, I'm sorry. We take them to school, whatever school they go to, in the different areas. We have the daycares in. After school, we pick them up and from the school, we bring them back to our daycare. Then we have a service where we will then take them, when their parents are home, we take them home from the daycare. I'm sorry. That's for the before and after school kids, but all kids who attend the daycare, we can pick them up from home and we can take them back home when the day is over.
Can I go? Feel free. Are there questions on the vans? Okay, then go ahead.
My question is less about I guess it is about the van. I guess considering the location, I guess I'm trying to picture what loading and unloading the kids. I don't know how many kids these vans would hold, 10, 8, estimating, but loading.
There are 12 passenger vans.
12 passengers. Okay, so I guess I'm trying to picture, considering the location, like where the loading and unloading of the van would take place if there isn't off-street, if there isn't like a loading area per se, considering that it's on Westchester Pike. That
So-
admittedly makes me a little anxious.
So from what I know from the building and the area and things of that nature and the actual service, what I would suggest, because there is a side door that it goes to the commercial space as well. So there's two entrances, one at the front that's at Westchester Pike, and then there's one inside of Sunshine. So the van is not like a large van. It's a small 12-passenger van. We could easily pull up right behind. So this particular building actually has a lot of yard space. So at the rear of the building, we could easily pull up right there. Kids can be unloaded and go right inside that side door that leads into the commercial space as well.
There's an alley in the back, is that
So
correct?
there's a driveway in the back, and then right after the driveway, so the driveway is not an official street, but it's a driveway that the trash trucks and all of them, they utilize that back driveway. But my building, I actually own that back portion where it's gated off at. So right at that back portion, we could easily pull it. When I go there to do maintenance, trash and everything, I pull right there at the back. So that could easily be a spot to where as though we can load. So there is a side street that you can come down. So if you're coming off of Westchester Pike, you can make I don't know the names of all of those little blocks, but it's like a little block right there before Sunshine. You could easily come there, come down a little block, or you can come all the way around to come down that little block. It's the same way that the trash trucks come. So you can easily come down there and unload the kids right there.
So I'm looking at the back of the rear of the building, and I'm seeing the part that you say is fenced off. Would you be open to possibly making that your loading spot, reserving that specifically for the daycare? That they would have to be, like that space would be reserved just for this use?
Yeah, so that was my initial thought process. However, I'm a licensed general contractor, so I don't really know all of the rules and regulations of Delaware County. So that was my initial thought process, that if there is a loading space requirement, I could easily turn that to whatever I choose to turn it to, because I own all of that space up into the alleyway. And that's way more than enough space for me to fit a car inside of the yard if I chose to. So it's just a matter of me having to pull a different building permit if need be to make that an actual drop-off spot. So it's just a matter of what is allowed. So, I'm pretty much at the mercy of license and inspection with regards to what I can alter this space to. All I pretty much can do is whatever they allow me to do, but I can facilitate and turn it into whatever is allowed.
Okay, because my question would be, so you mentioned that there'd be two vans, and I'd assume since they're 12-passenger vans, they're probably a little bit bigger than like these aren't like an SUV vans, like these are like actual,
They're just small vans, and to be honest, each location, so we don't necessarily need multiple vans because yes, we may be able to have 20, 25 children, but they're all not there all the time. So like in having multiple locations, we could potentially have this location for the older children, other locations for infants. So it's not like this particular location is always going to have meet that capacity and have 25 children at one particular time. So it could be days to where as though we only have 6 children and we won't even need that. So, you know, it's not like this is a business that's going to constantly have a high volume at all 24 hours of the day.
my question is just saying hypothetically, if there are two vans, I know you might not need them, but I'd assume they'd need a place to park and at least be. Given that there would be only one space for loading, do you have a plan for where you would park the vehicles when they're not being used?
So if there's a situation to where's the park, I would honestly probably park at the meter parking in front of the door.
Okay.
Or probably inside of the little block, because there's not meter parking. Park for free inside Sunshine.
Is there state requirements for this, specifically for I guess the daycare use, for outdoor play during the day with the kids?
So outdoor space, let's just say, for instance, if I don't have the yard, I would have to allocate a certain amount of space inside for play space. So, but all of that is mandated by the state. So a lot of the things are still, you know, up in the air because we have to get past this portion first. Then the state comes out and they pretty much regulate how many kids you can have. So in the event that I don't have that rear yard space, then they'll tell me, okay, well, a portion of the inside you will have to set aside and put toys in there and make that for play space, which in turn would now take the 25 kids down to, let's say, 18 or 17 kids. So it's just a matter of how much space per child. So it's a certain amount of square footage per child. So if you have to subtract some of the square footage for the children to have play space, then that just means that we have less children that can actually attend that particular facility.
Right. But I guess I'm thinking about like outside specifically. Let's say hypothetically that it does work out that you can use that sort of rear area, sort of a loading or quasi-loading or parking space for the vans. If there is, and I don't know that there is, but if there is some sort of necessity for outdoor play or requirements or something like that, what would be the plan there? Like how could this space accommodate that? If that's going to be used for loading,
So,
would they
so
go to
the-
the playground? Is there a playground around here? I don't.
So the state requirement is not that you have to have a playground for outdoor activities. You could actually take the children and they have like these little, it's kind of like kid leashes. And you can actually walk them around the block and that satisfies the requirement. So it's not, the requirement isn't that you have to have actual
Outside
playground outside space. So that's not the state requirement.
Yes.
So I want to recap what I think I heard you say. The back, I think there's a white fence up there now.
Yes, it's a white
Okay.
fence now.
So you put the fence up there to designate that space as what?
So I put the fence up there. Originally, it was a gated fence, but when I purchased the building, it was actually falling down. So I put it up pretty much to satisfy because people were dumping trash and things of that nature. So that's why I actually put it back up. Would I like to utilize it for some play space? If I can, if I need it for, you know, to use it for parking, then I would be willing to do so in the event that that's needed. So I'm still, you know, I'm willing to compromise in order to have something. I don't want to, because the reality is in the event that I have that as a play space, that just allows me to have more children, more money. So we're not being greedy. We would rather have 50% of something than 100% of nothing. So if we need to allocate that rear for parking, then I'm willing to do so because it just means that we just don't make as much money. That's all that really means. And that's not really our motivation.
And is that unit, I think it's 3 stories,
Yes.
are the children on all 3 floors or just the
No,
ground floor?
no, just the first floor,
Just
just
the-
that one floor.
And that's
So,
the 1225 square feet?
yeah, so that actual commercial space actually has quite a few components to it. So it has that first floor. It also has an office space in the basement, but then it also has another portion of the basement that's allocated for that commercial space. So it's a very large space. And even where you see that rare space that I said I can allocate for the parking, there's still another door that you probably can't see,
No.
but there's another portion on the side of that as well. So it's quite a bit of space.
So let's hypothetically say you have to have the loading space for the children. I'm thinking of, what if someone's in the driveway and blocking? Could be in the morning, could be in the evening, and you have to load the kids up or unload the kids. What would you do in a situation like that? What's the backup plan? Because I know that street is very tight, parking, Westchester Pike and on Sunshine. What is it,
Sunshine.
Sunshine.
Yeah, Sunshine is very tight. What's the contingency plan for that?
If someone is basically blocking the street,
Yeah, sometimes people park, get out the car, leave the car, and I can see that happening in that area. What's the backup plan? Now you got kids that gotta get to school or need to be unloaded so that your bus can go maybe to another location to pick up. Do you have so I guess I'm thinking in my mind, what's the backup plan? Not for another van, but for additional space for the van. In the event someone's blocking the loading zone or
so in the event that I have to utilize that for the drop off, then I would have a sign there, so it would be illegal for anyone to park in that space.
That's a township.
yeah, that's a township thing.
That's why we
And-
require it.
Okay.
And,
Because actually, the opposite side of the street, I think it's the hardware store, they actually have that painted block in the streets to where as though you can't park there. So if anyone parks there, me and the parking authority guy, we're pretty cool. He gives them a ticket every single time. So, in the event that we have to utilize that, then I guess I would have to try to figure out how to make it illegal to actually park on that space. I mean, that's the only thing I could potentially say in that particular scenario.
and is Westchester Pike even an option? I wouldn't think that that's even an option. Because if you parked, say the space was open in front of your building on Westchester Pike, they can't go through the front door? Did I hear you say that?
They
Or
can't.
No,
have to use
yeah, there's 2 doors, so you can go in the front and you can also
front,
go in the side door.
and the back, right? There is
So,
a door in the
no,
back.
to get to the commercial space, you can either go, it's a door it's kind of on Westchester Pike,
Mhm.
and then there's another door that's solely inside of Sunshine.
Okay.
Is that for access for the other floors?
No, the other floors have their own separate door that leads upstairs.
Where is that?
That's actually in between the 2 doors. So their door is in the middle. The rear of the commercial space is to the right of that door, and the other door is in the front. So it's 3 doors total.
Do the residential unit, how many units?
4.
Do the residential units have access to that rear space in any way?
To the rear of the yard,
Or to the
Other
rear
than
of
the
the
fire
building?
escape?
they have a fire. So the second component that I mentioned earlier, it has a fire escape, and that door is sectioned off from that space. So that's why I said it's a whole nother component. So the fire escape, it has its own separate door. So it's sort of, that rear that you see is actually two separate, I want to say 2 separate components. It's 2 separate doors. So that rear has its one door, the fire escape has its own door.
How many, I'll call them guardians for lack of a better word, do you have with the children in there?
I
Is there
didn't
a
hear that
ratio
word
of-
that you used.
Is there a ratio of
Guardians.
I said guardians,
Okay.
Employees.
employees?
Employees, you
Oh.
would have.
So that's mandated by the state. So
And
the
how
state,
many are required for
what you're
Or
projecting?
20,
So the state comes out and they tell you, okay, with this particular size, you can have, let's say, 4 infants. The infant ratio is, I want to say, right offhand, let's just say is 2 infants to 1 employee. Then from the ages of 2 to 7 is like 7 to 1 employee. And then from 7 to 14 is like 10 to 1 employee. So depending on how many kids the state actually allows you to have. So if the state will come and they'll tell you, you can have 4 or 5 infants, then you can have this many children in this age group, and then you can have this many in this age group. So that's something that we wouldn't be able to give you without having the state actually, they're in control of that. We have absolutely no control over that.
what does the state require for those that you have in your other facilities? They do have that set up already.
So for instance, for example purposes, on 6503 Lansdowne Avenue, that's the closest in proximity. So that particular daycare is we can have up to 19 kids at a time. We can
What
have,
age?
say that again?
What age?
So it's 5 infants, and I want to say right offhand, I don't want to lie and give you an exact number with the difference. I know it's 5 infants, and from the ages 2 to 14 is the difference that we can have at one particular time.
And how many employees do you have at that location?
4
In total, yes.
in total.
So I have a follow-up. I know you can't give a definite number right now because it's up to the state, but I'd assume you do plan to have some staff at the location. Do you have any idea of where they would park, or where are they taking public transit? How would your staff be getting to the office?
So
Or to the daycare, should I say?
Kiana drives, and the other 3, they take public transportation. Actually, one lady lives across the street, and the other 2, they take public transportation.
Do you want to go? In just general, why this location? Like, is there a specific reason why this location? Sorry, I didn't mean to steal your question. Why this specific location for a daycare, for this facility? What makes it unique in the sense that there were no other properties for a daycare?
So, from the beginning, me purchasing the property, it was because the property was actually offered to me. So that's what brought my interest. I am a real estate investor. I buy properties all over the city. I have 25 properties in total. When the property was brought to me, it was a good business opportunity for me. The previous owner, he had the building for as long as I've been on earth, and he wouldn't sell it to anyone. So when it was brought to my attention, you know, I was highly interested because it was a good deal. Once I, assessed the property and I saw that it had the commercial element, I already have daycares. It just made financial sense. Just to be completely honest, it made financial sense. Daycares for me and for Tashana is a way that we create jobs for our family as well. So daycares, they pretty much make sense, honestly. They're not nuisance businesses. It's the middle course. So, I've owned, we had a event space on 53rd and Market. They draw a lot of negative attention. See, Shashana, she can't even speak to you guys, and this is a positive place. So, we're individuals that we're young. We don't like a lot of the attention and things of that nature. So this is a way for us to be able to, create jobs for our family and friends, be able to make meaningful, money, and, just do something good. It's the middle course. So it's not more so this particular building. It's more so in the lines of I own it. It's vacant. So why not if this is the business that we're in? So, just being fully transparent, the initial, attraction, it wasn't a why this building for this purpose. It was because of the business aspect of it, because it was a great deal. You're welcome.
So to your mind, the business was benefiting by having doing the daycare as opposed to renting it out as an apartment for that first floor?
so the first floor is commercial in nature, so it's not for residential purposes. So it would have to be some sort of a business. And for me, from a owner, as an owner, I wouldn't even want to rent it out to someone that brings a business that could potentially have negative backlash, because a building of this size, someone will want to rent this building for a hookah lounge or a lot of these nuisance business that I personally don't care for. So, I spent a lot of money to actually rehab the building. So I don't, I do take pride and I care about my actual properties. So I don't want to have something that someone would then come in and tear down. I would rather have some sort of an input in what actually goes inside the building. And like I said, it also allows me to be able to hire family members and things of that nature. So it's multiple different opportunities that I can actually provide.
I had seen the improvement that you had done on that building,
Yeah.
and I did like that.
Thank you. I
Improvement.
appreciate it.
Go ahead, Steve.
So I certainly agree that, your proposed use is less of a nuisance than a hookah lounge. And I'm not of the belief that daycare centers and mixed-use buildings like this can't work. I think there's a bunch of examples of them working fairly well and also being sort of, important in terms of like neighborhood daycares for people for walkability and things of that nature. And so in terms of like just the proposed use and what you're trying to do, I think I'm for sure all for it. I think where I still have some angst is just the location, because I'm thinking about the daycares up and down Westchester Pike, and even the ones that are set back a bit, which this one I guess is not really set back, and they all have some sort of parking, even if it's minimal. And that's sort of like, and I think the variance that you're looking for to bring it back to that is five spots, and 3 loading spots. I think maybe the 3 loading spots is probably a little much, but I guess in my view, if you could utilize that rear, and that's why I asked if the residents had access to it, because if that rear area could sort of be conformed to some sort of loading area, I think I would feel a lot more comfortable. I'm just thinking about essentially the safety of the kids, essentially, loading and unloading, not just with you and your employees and your staff, but also with parents who picked them up, who, are picking them up. I think 6 o'clock is in the middle of kind of rush hour of people trying to get home. I think that just the Westchester Pike of it all makes me feel like that loading area is kind of important at a minimum. I don't think it'll I don't think it'll solve all the problems that I think this location presents for this kind of use. But I think incremental things that can like mitigate the risk, I think is very, very important, particularly for this specific use. If this was just, I don't know, like a corner store or something like that, I probably would care a lot less. But because it's a daycare, it's why I think I have a heightened sensitivity to the location of it all. So I would hope that strides could be made to try to at least identify that space as loading. That's just sort of my take.
Is that rear area, is that level enough? Is it accessible for a van to pull in there and park for the children to unload?
So the rear, and
That's
I say-
currently fenced in if you remove the fence?
So I mean, I say this with all humility. I could pretty much turn that rear into anything. Like I said, I have 2 construction companies, so I can, I have to fix the curb anyhow. I was just waiting to see, before I continue to do alterations, what this is going to be. Because I do understand that you reserve the right to say no. So I don't want to start to alter different things with the hopes of creating a daycare, and then you say no, and just like, okay, I just spent $15,000 on turn this into a loading spot. So, to answer your question, I don't believe that will be a problem for me to actually turn it into a loading spot.
And maybe you said this, but I just want to clarify. How many vans are at the property at any one time? Is there one van that services property and goes different places? Or are there multiple vans coming within a 15-minute window, or what's the frequency like in capacity?
So just to be, I'm not gonna just give answers to try to, please you guys. I'm gonna give you guys the full truth.
The truth would be
The reality
appreciated.
is whatever I need it to be, that's what I can make it to be. So we don't necessarily need multiple vans. Some days we can have a small minivan because, like I said, the kids are not, it's not like, okay, it's not like it's a public school to where as though we have 100 kids and we have to get them there at a certain time. So we can start pickup as early as 5:30 a.m. and get there whenever, periodically. So they're all not necessarily coming at one particular time. So it's not a necessity to have the vans there all day anyhow. We can bring the kids there, drop them off, and the vans don't necessarily need to be parked outside. So it's not a necessity to have a vehicle outside for emergencies. So it's not mandatory. We do this as a courtesy. So it's not mandatory to have the pickup and drop off service for the business in its entirety. So this is something that we do as a courtesy because it actually is a good, good for business.
So
We don't have parking at any location that we have. There's no personal, we don't have spots at any of our
Yeah, any of them.
locations.
Philadelphia County
So
doesn't
that's
require
one
it.
of the reasons we even offer the van service, to make it easy for parents.
Yeah, I mean, our building on Girard Avenue, it's way worse as far as parking is concerned there. So,
So you have your own fleet, I'm sorry, Greg.
Go
I
ahead,
didn't
yeah.
mean- You have your own fleet, kind of, sort of, where depending on the need for the pickup or drop-off, you can accommodate a 12-passenger van versus a small minivan.
yes.
Not
So,
saying you have a huge fleet, but you
No,
just have
so it's,
various.
so I'll say,
vehicles.
I'll say it's not really a fleet. It's more so,
Most businesses.
I just create different businesses to actually accommodate my businesses. Hence the reason why I'm a general contractor, because I know I wanted to be a real estate investor. So I know the contractors, they make a lot of the money. So what I do is I create different businesses to actually service my other businesses. So hence that's how I actually developed the other.
Do you charge people to go pick up their children and then
So
drop them off?
we don't charge. Everyone else, they actually do charge. So this is a good tool. So we don't actually charge. A lot of individuals, so we have the ability to cut a lot of costs on certain things because we don't rent any of our buildings. I own all of them, so we don't charge. So other facilities that do provide these services, they do charge. I believe they charge another $50 per week. So we don't actually charge.
And your vans are made to accommodate the seating for those children, whether
Ye-
it's front or back seating?
So so our vans, if you exceed a certain number, so if you exceed that 12 passenger, then you dive into the commercial realm and then you have to have all these extra requirements. As long as you stay under that number, then you can actually pick them up
No,
in a
but the
regular
children
vehicle.
have to be put into seats.
Car
that are-
seats?
Car seats that are specific for their age group and size.
Yes, but yeah, so to answer that question, yes, we have to have booster seats and things of that nature, because that's just Pennsylvania law. But I'm saying we don't have, I don't want to, represent like we have special vans like a school bus and things of that nature, because we don't.
So can I ask one question? If the board were inclined to approve your application and attached, this is hypothetical because they have not discussed it, certain conditions such as that you are required to offer pickup and drop-off services, that you can only have one van at any one time at the property, and that there is no loading anywhere but the loading spot, and require you to use the rear pad as the loading area, would that be acceptable and for your operation?
Yeah, from right off back, I mean, I don't think that that's unfair or unreasonable, because I believe that the things that you're asking, it is for the safety of children. And when you mention that, nothing is too strenuous to request. So,
May I ask one question to Josh? What is the dimensional size required for a loading area?
So for commercial spaces, each loading area shall be a minimum of 14 feet wide and 50 feet long, exclusive of driveways and maneuvering space. 5050.
Passenger loading?
It's not
That's
really.
commercial.
This is commercial. That's just commercial. We wouldn't, I mean, like, if a residential parking space would be 9 by 18, right? And that's what the passenger drop-off zones would be.
Do you have 18 feet from your back of your door to put this place?
I don't have the exact measurements, but I'm quite sure that it can fit a car. I'm almost certain that it can fit a car.
Do you know the lot width? How wide is the building? How big is the interior space width-wise?
Josh would know.
I can find out.
Come on, Josh. Help me out.
I think your plans say that the width of the building is 1810. If I'm correct, Josh. The full lot.
Rear.
20 by 100,
That's the full lot.
full lot. So Probably.
20 wide.
it's at least 20 wide.
Kyle, did you have a question?
No, I'm actually, all the things that you asked for, I was gonna ask.
Executive
Um,
session?
Or
I guess-
Mike keep?
My only other addition would be, if, and this is the hypothetical, the board was to apply conditions, would you be open to the idea of limiting the amount of kids in order to ensure that there is only one van being used at any one given time?
Would I be open to limiting the amount of kids?
Yeah, so like limiting it to like 15, 20, instead of like this, like the 20 to 25, which would be like what, 2 vans you would need?
The testimony was that they're 12 passenger vans.
Yeah.
Which probably includes a driver,
Yeah,
I'm
so
guessing,
even,
so.
and I'm just being frank. So even though it's a 12-passenger van, it could be at any given time. Let's just say, for instance, if the state I'm gonna go for me and against me. So let's just say the state did come in and they said we can have 30 kids. We could pick up 7 kids, drop them off. Let's say 7 kids were to be picked up at 5:30, and the other 7 kids aren't to be picked up until 9:30. So we don't necessarily always have to pick up all the children at one time. So I don't want to get, I'm just, with all due respect, I don't want to get caught up on a number, because that number isn't, like, okay, at every given time, we have to grab a dozen of kids and bring them. So, I think in all fairness, it fluctuates. That's just the amount that, the capacity, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what it's going to be at all given, every moment. Because some days we'll have roll and no kids will show up. So, just in all fairness,
All right, that's fine. Thank you.
So, Mr. McCreesh, do you have other questions you'd like to ask?
I have no other questions. No, thank you.
Do you have any other witnesses or?
No.
applicants? Okay, no. It could be appropriate to ask for public.
Is there any public, excuse me, any public comments? Okay, if there's none at this time, we'd like to take over.
Mr. McCreesh, I think your witness has something
I
he'd like
just
to
wanted
say,
to
if
Oh,
you're
oh,
okay
I'm
with
sorry, I
it.
didn't even look that way.
so just wanted to add one thing, because I do recognize what this board's concerns are. We have children of our own. I would never, like, she's past her background, she's eligible to work with children as well as I am. Totally take everything into consideration that you guys are saying with regards of safety. That's my number one priority. My children are my everything. So I'm never going to do anything to compromise anyone's child for that matter. I wouldn't do it on my own, and she definitely wouldn't. She, as you can see, she could barely speak in front of people in the public. One of the nicest people I've ever met. And this is something that, yes, it's mine, I own it. However, this is my fiance, so I'm doing these things to create a legacy for our children. So this is not something that I intend to go ahead and do recklessly. And even if you guys were to grant, that's still not the end all be all. The state still comes out and they still govern. So a lot of these things that we're saying are all preliminary. The state still comes out regularly, they still check. If you guys say yes and the state comes out and they say they have concerns, then this was all, for no reason. So this is not a business that is just, go ahead, do it as you please. This is something that's highly governed by the state. So it's not something that we could even play around with. The state comes out regularly, and if one thing is off of that checklist, they shut you down. So this is not something that doesn't have oversight. So, I just want to make mention of that this, a daycare facility, a lot of people have abused it. And a lot of people have used these facilities just because it does make a lot of money, but they don't try to give back and really provide a good product and good services. That's not what we're into. We're actually trying to provide good services. We do a lot of community service with our daycares. We give back. It's not just about a daycare facility for us. We are actually trying to do something positive. So we're not going to take this situation and just turn around and just say, okay, we're making money, let's do something foolish. I have too much to lose for that.
Thank you, Mr. Hartsfield.
Thank you.
Was there a request for an executive session?
Yes, we'd like to break for executive session.
Thanks, I have no idea where it came from.
Okay, would anyone like to make a motion on this application?
Yes, I motion to accept this application, subject to the conditions to be read into the record by solicitor.
So the board will attach the following conditions to an approval. That one, that pickup and drop-off service is required. Two, only one van at any one time is servicing the premises. Three, no loading of children anywhere but when the van is parked in the loading spot. Number four, that the rear pad area is used as the loading spot. Number five, that approval is secured from L&I for the size, appropriateness, and access of the loading spot on the rear pad. And six, that the applicant secure a no parking X approval from council for access from the loading spot onto Sunshine. If that's accurate, you can ask for a second.
Can I get a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. You're approved. You'll receive a written decision within 45 days of tonight.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. They're very happy.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys. I
Good luck.
appreciate Josh.
They got other things.
Thank you very much. Rest of your night.
This,
Okay, moving on to application 2 of 24, application of Michelle Williams and T. Brown for a variance from section 558A to allow retail store in a residential zoning district that is situated at 26 Park Avenue in Upper Darby, a R3 residential district in the 4th Council.
Before we begin, the board will enter the following exhibits. ZHB 1 will be the application packet, ZHB 2 will be the notice photos, and ZHB 3 will be proof of publication. Is there anyone present this evening who would like to request party status on this application? Seeing none, Mr. McCreesh.
Yeah, John J. McCreesh III for the applicant. 26 Park Avenue is a bottom floor, more or less, of a large apartment building. You all know it. It's been there for 100 years. And there's 4 stores. The fire department's next to it. Around the corner's the Wawa. That's why there's no parking there. That's why there's no parking in most of Upper Darby, because when they built it, there were only horses and carriages and Bob. And me. Yes, and, but anyhow, for years it was an art studio. Before that, it was a retail store. Somehow, it got messed up and was not zoned properly, to be honest with you. It should be, for a retail space. This young lady has a unique, story. Let her have you tell it. Come on up here and get sworn in, Michelle, and tell them what you do. Raise your right hand and give them your name.
Michelle Williams with 2 L's.
Tell them what type.
I do.
Tell them what
Yes.
kind of store you have.
Good evening. So we would like to make that space a vintage store slash our antique store. And so my partner and I, Thomas, we have wanted to do that for some time, and that seems like a great space.
All right, now, tell them now, you're not selling $2 junk items, right?
No, not at all.
What's the price of your items?
So the average price of items or sales will be 100 to 200, and that's at the very low end of it. They are antiques, they are vintage items, they are accessories, household accessories, and decor.
Right. And how do most of your clients get to you now? Oh, I'm sorry, you have a little spot now, right? I mean, you do operate now.
We do not have a physical space at this moment. We are trying to make it a physical space, thus the interest in 26 Park Avenue. Currently, we have people who contact us via email, via the internet. We have appointment-only things that we do. So that's how we currently are structuring our sales. And that was pre-pandemic, and even into this day, we'd like to make it a brick and mortar shop.
Right, so let's take your little spot. It's only 600 square feet. You're going to have it all packed up with these products that you have. Do you anticipate people walking into your store or coming, like you said, by appointment?
We should hope that they would come by appointment only. And then on the weekends, we would hope that we would have some people walking from the neighborhood. However, it would be appointment only for the most part during the week.
And the other store before, and it was a little bit of an eyesore in the neighborhood, they would put all kind of products out on the sidewalk and everything like that. You're not going to do anything like that, are you?
Absolutely not. Our products are antiques, they're vintage, they're valuable, so they aren't products that we would have on the sidewalk at all. We want to make sure that they're kept and they're maintained, and so we would have them in the store.
And the employee would be you and Thomas.
Absolutely. Thomas would be the one who would be securing the products and things of that nature because he has great information about antiques and vintage and much experience in that area. So it would be myself or Thomas in the store.
Right, so you only anticipate one or the other, or maybe both at any one time.
Absolutely.
And we let Thomas come tonight, didn't we?
Yes, we let Thomas come tonight.
Okay, he's sitting here behind.
He's in the audience. Yes.
All right, you have any questions?
Out of curiosity, what's the name of your business?
We are hoping to have it say Vintage Finds as a brick and mortar shop, Vintage Finds.
I just had one question. Does the vintage items include like vintage furniture or anything like that?
So there will not be a lot of furniture, and if there are furniture pieces, which there may be, they would be smaller in size because the square footage of the store would not have capacity for all of that.
Okay. Yeah, because I was thinking about like loading it in and out. I know that corner is kind of, particularly with the Wawa traffic, could be kind of tough. So that's a consideration.
No, he's asking, would it be like moving vans or anything like that to load the product?
Not on a consistent basis. Most of the items will be smaller. And then even if there was something, for example, our counter, it would be a one-time move-in. If there are smaller items or furniture pieces, they would be smaller, so it wouldn't require huge moving vans or anything like that.
Would you use any artwork?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
And I know you said that Tom, I think it is?
Yes, Thomas.
Thomas is very knowledgeable of vintage
And antiques,
and
yes.
antiques. So does your business, what's the correct term? Verify or you know how you buy a loop? Is it like No,
Oh,
no,
no,
no.
authenticate.
Authenticate,
No.
that's it. Yes.
No, it wouldn't be consignment. It's just buy as is. So the other thing is a lot of it would be vintage, and with vintage, you don't necessarily need to confirm or verify the years and dates and things of that nature. So there may be some antique pieces, but for the majority, it would probably be vintage. And that's what we've done in the past, but on a very smaller level and not in a brick and mortar facility.
Okay. Is there any public, any more questions?
No, I'll just make the comment that I do agree with council's characterization that this site is probably miszoned as residential. It probably should be commercial.
That's two of them I've had here. He'll know, he
So
knows.
cute.
I have finally get, all these years, 2 true variances. You're laughing, you know you've never had one.
Do you have any other,
Few and far between under the law.
any other evidence, Mr. McCreesh?
No, it's enough. Just give her the.
Please,
She'll have a heart attack.
Let's
you
just
know.
make sure we do public
right
comment.
here.
Is there any public comment? Okay.
Like to make a motion to approve this?
I'd second that motion. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank
You're
you.
approved.
Thank
Good
you
luck.
so
Receive a
much.
written decision within 45 days.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
I'm having too much fun. Moving right along to application 2-3 of 24. Application of Luis Morales for a variance from section 550-50D, table 42, to permit a 1,085 square foot lot area per unit, where 3,000 square feet of lot area per unit is required, and a variance from section 550-33A to permit 2 parking spaces where 4 are required. This location is 51 Ridgefield Road, Upper Darby, PA. It's in the R3 Residential District in the 7th Council.
So before we begin, the board will enter the following exhibits. ZHB 1 will be the application packet, ZHB 2 will be the notice photos, and ZHB 3 will be the proof of publication. Is there anyone present this evening who would like to request party status for this application? All right, seeing none. Is Luis here?
Yes.
Luis? And your name?
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for holding up here. My name is Bisette Durham. I am a licensed expediter for the city of Philadelphia. Luis is expediter?
Expedite.
Okay, before we get any testimony, we can have both of you sworn in because it seems like both of you are going to offer.
Bisette, Bissett, Durham.
My name is Luis, Luis Morales, Morales.
Will you each raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that what you give will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
So if you can tell the board what you're planning for the property and why you'd like to do it, and also some justification for the relief you're requesting. So that's the number of units as well as the number of parking spaces.
Okay. I'm here mostly as a translator for Mr. Luis Morales. Okay, so I'm gonna translate to him and then I will get back.
Okay.
Okay. Él pregunta que cuál es el proyecto especial que compraste esta casa y por qué tú quieres hacer esos 2 apartamentos ahí.
Porque lo compré.
Para el micrófono. Ajá.
Porque lo compré.
Ujú.
Porque es nuestra primera casa y pues porque queremos que nos ayude un poco en pagar el mortgage de la casa.
Okay, so he purchased this property last year as his first property. He wants to live in there. When he saw the property, he saw the potential of getting help to pay his mortgage every month. So his main intention is to live in there and also be able to rent a space on the 2nd floor.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry. I don't think
He
I
purchased his
understood.
property last year. It's his first property. He wants to reside in there. Also because it's 3 floors, he wants to create a duplex, live in one, and create an income revenue to be able to pay his mortgage.
Okay. So there will be a total of 3 units on the property? Or 2, I'm sorry, you said 2 units.
2 units.
Okay. And how many, are there currently 2 parking spaces on the property then?
Ahora mismo hay 2 parqueos en la propiedad.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and the property have a driveway, so be 2 parking spaces already there. We only requesting 2 parking space on the street.
So 2 parking spaces in the driveway, 2 parking spaces on the street.
Yes.
Is there usually available parking in the neighborhood around the home?
Dice que si hay parqueadero suficiente en la calle durante el día.
Sí.
Yes, it is.
How many bedrooms are going to be in each unit?
¿Cuántos cuántos cuartos van a estar en cada unidad?
El primer apartamento tendría 2 y el segundo tendría 3 o 4, depende de los planos.
Okay, so the first apartment on the first floor will be having 2 bedrooms. And the second and third floor will be another apartment with 3 bedrooms.
So 2 bedrooms in the downstairs unit and 3 bedrooms in the upstairs unit.
Yes. We look into it, and the maximum required with Josh was 2 parking spaces per unit.
I guess we can, I think it might be better if we just go to questions from the board, if there are any.
So the upstairs unit is, it's a bi-level, the
Correct,
upstairs is,
correct.
okay. So it's 3 bedrooms, it's 2 floors in upstairs unit.
Correct.
Got it. And so does Mr., I'm sorry, what was his name?
Morales.
Morales, I guess, how do I frame this? Does he, the variance that's being sought is essentially because the size of the lot. The size of the lot doesn't allow for the density that he's trying to put in this site, right? Does he understand like that's the limitation?
Él dice que la variante que se está poniendo es porque lo permitido que está allí, 3,000 pies cuadrados, tú tienes solamente un espacio de 1,082, que si tú entiendes eso. Yes, he understands.
And if I'm reading this correctly, and Josh or whomever, please correct me if this is incorrect, but essentially we need 3,000 square feet per unit for the parcel. Is that right?
Correct. So in this case, so the duplex, it would be 6,000 square feet for a lot size.
And does that include off-street parking? Whatever, like when they measure the lot, does it include whether there's off-street parking? Is that included in the calculation?
It's just the size of the parcel.
Just the parcel itself?
Yeah, so it could have parking, it could have off-street, it could not have off-street. That wouldn't be calculated in.
Is there a driveway or something behind the house? Looks like there's
Es un driveway.
an
Yes,
opening.
it's a small opening. It's usually for the garbage trucks to go by there.
Okay.
But the architect says that a van could fit in there, but he made the study for the van to turn around, and it was not possible.
How much square feet? How big is the lot? Like what right now? How big is it?
We don't have that information. The architect, he made all the plans based on what he saw in there with the measurements. He said that Mr. Morales, we have to do like a specific survey to get the property totally measured. But maybe Josh had that information.
Yes, I pulled it up preemptively. It's, according to the county, it's 35 by 62.
Sorry, say that again?
35 by 62, according to the county. That's the parcel size, which would be 1,085 per unit, if you divide that number in half.
We want to mention that the properties next door on both sides, they already duplex. That was the reason why when he bought that property, he was under the impression that he could do that as well.
Are the lots about the same size?
I believe so,
estimation?
yes, yes.
Yeah.
And the real estate person mentioned that he was able to do that. Then we were, we found ourselves in these situations.
I can confirm that. All the lots are roughly the same size.
Was the neighboring property converted to two lots previously?
Was it converted recently?
Did they not say that the neighboring property also has two units on it?
Yes. Right? I think that's what you just testified.
Yes, one across the street, and on both sides, they're also duplexes as well.
And I was asking Josh if they were the same size lot.
Right.
For the, to see.
Yeah.
There is a lot of duplexes in this district, as it is an allowable use.
And so those would have been prior non. were
My
those
guess is-
Variances or prior?
I don't know for sure. My guess is they were probably existing nonconformities before 2010. But, or illegal.
Just to confirm with the applicant, the plans you submitted from the architect state that apartment number 2 will be a 4-bedroom apartment? Will it be 4 bedrooms or will it be 3 bedrooms?
It will be 3 bedroom.
3 bedrooms, okay. It would be important to note on the record that apartment 2, if the board were to approve this, the apartment number 2 would be consistent with that representation of 3 bedrooms.
And I did just look at the immediate neighbor, 53 Richfield, and the county lists them as having 2 living units. So my understanding is that it was probably an existing nonconformity. It's not certain, I need more time to research it, but roughly, probably.
How high are you intending to raise the roof?
¿Qué tan alto tú quieres subir el roof en la parte de atrás? ¿Cuántas pulgadas? ¿Cuántos pies?
Lo que es. 8 pies.
Say up to 8 feet. Just to level out. 8 feet on the
The one side.
one side, just to level it out.
I believe based on the plans, it looks as though the existing peak of the roof will not change, but the slope will be removed to be a flat roof. So the overall height will remain the same, but it will be
Yes, it's the
consistently
peak.
35 feet across.
Correct.
Currently, it's set up so that one family is in there, and now you're looking to make it a 2-family.
Correct. It's
Correct.
a very large house with many, many bedrooms.
And there's no parking. I should say, you don't have parking for the additional family that could come in there.
Yes, if we do a duplex, it remains one single family, the parking is there. If we create a duplex, then we will require 2 extra parkings. That street is only one-way street, and at any given time, there's plenty of spaces in there. Around the corner as well, there's parking as well.
This work has already begun?
No.
No? Okay. I'm looking at the wrong house then.
It is, in the beginning, you see some wrapping plastic around it.
Yes.
Well, it was water damage in there,
Okay.
so it was covered up, so just to stop the water from coming in.
Okay.
But there's no work being done inside the house yet.
The driveway located to the left, is that the driveway? You mentioned that there's a driveway available for 2-car parking. Is that the driveway to the left of the house as you look at it?
Yes,
Is that solely for use by 51 Richfield, or is that shared?
there's a share, but both cars fit at any given time.
Is there room for 4 cars there?
Yes. Side
2
by
and 2.
side, 2 and 2. Yes, 4.
Thank you.
Stacking.
Yes.
Two sets of 2 tandem.
I would say a compact car would be better, not an SUV.
Any other questions from the board?
No, I have none.
So the hardship that you're looking to try to alleviate is not having to comply with the parking and lot size.
Correct. Well, think about this. A lot of people buy properties and they do all these renovations without letting the city know. And, when I help him create his company and we're able to do a lot of things, I say, let's do things right. Let's follow the proper steps so you will never have encountered a problem in the future. So now he have a challenge, but this will be his first residence, a primary residence for him and his family. And he would like to also cover part of the mortgage because it's quite high.
Josh, I don't see any signs on it, but is parking permitted on Richfield?
That's exactly what I was just looking at, and
It's off-street parking all the way.
both sides?
It's only one way.
I know it's one way, but can you park on both sides, or is one side no parking and
¿Se puede parquear de un lado o del otro lado de la otra?
No, just one side.
Only one side.
just one side, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Parking is on one side, did you say?
Yes,
And is that on your side of the?
yes.
It was like one side, there's a street sweeping restriction, and the other side is no parking. Is that what it
This
is?
probably isn't very.
The Google is also, the Google street imagery is also old.
4 years old.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Yeah, it's a narrower street.
Yeah, and I could see parking on one side and
Okay,
not.
too.
It's interesting that there is
I've seen cars.
not one car parked on there in the street view.
I know.
I've seen cars in the
Yeah, lovely, yeah.
sidewalk, but I've seen cars just in the sidewalk on both sides, but technically it's supposed to be only on one side.
Mm, okay, yeah.
Okay.
that's not good.
We'll
see
get
everything.
someone out to ticket that.
Okay, if there are any more questions from the board? Is there any public comment? Okay, there is none. Would we like to make an,
I make a motion to approve variance, is this a variance or special exception?
This is a variance.
variance?
Make a motion to approve the variance request.
I second. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Any
Okay.
opposed?
I am.
Okay, so that's 2-1. Been approved. You'll receive a decision within 45 days of tonight.
Thank you so much. My daughter will be happy to go home.
Thank you.
Good night, thank you.
Good luck.
Density.
Okay,
I hate density.
moving on to 2.5, right?
2-5.
Okay. 2.5 of 24, applications of Kevin, I'm just going to say your first name, I don't want to mess it up, for a variance from section 558A to permit a 4-unit multifamily apartment in an R3 residential district, a variance from section 550-15D, table 4-2, single-family semi-detached dwelling to permit a lot width of 27 feet where 30 feet is required. A variance from 550-15D, Table 4-2, two-family detached dwelling to permit a minimum lot width of, at the building line of 54.5 feet wide where 60 is required. A variance from Section 550-15D, Table 4-2, two-family detached dwelling to permit a 20-foot aggregate side yard setback where a 25-foot aggregate side yard setback is required. A variance from 550-15D, Table 4-2, to permit a building coverage of 54.6% for Lot A, where the maximum allowable coverage is 40%. A variance from Section 550-15D, Table 4-2, to permit a building coverage of 32.9% for Lot B, where the maximum allowable coverage is 30%. And a variance from 550-33A, Table 8-1, to permit 7 parking spaces where 10 are required. The location is 8520 Monroe Avenue in Upper Darby. It's an R3 residential district in the 4th Council.
The board will enter the following exhibits. ZHB1 will be the application packet, ZHB2 will be the notice photos, and ZHB3 will be the proof of publication. Is there anyone present tonight who would like to request party status for this application? Seeing none, is it Mr. Lavin?
Yes.
The floor is yours.
Good evening, thank you. I do have some additional exhibits that, would it be easier for me to hand them all up now that I've
Yes.
pre-marked? Okay, let me do that.
That
and
is
I'll-
preferred.
Okay,
Are they pre-marked as well?
yes.
Okay.
You want one? All right. Greg Josh has drawings.
So for the record, while Mr. Levin gets set up, we'll note that he has pre-marked exhibits. A1 is the application packet. A2 is notice photos. A3 is aerial photographs from Google Maps. A4, it looks like the township zoning maps and annotated aerial photographs. I'll pass down. And A5 are photographs of the area. Is that fair?
Correct, yes. And A6 that I have marked, at least from my own records, would be the copies of the zoning drawings.
And A6 is the plans.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And I do also have some videos that I've given Josh on a hard drive that I would like to show at some point during this. I do have some videos that I've given Josh on a hard drive that he can show on the screen of the area in question.
We're passing.
Well,
that
I'll
down
do
now.
that. I'll do that later.
Is there any extras of this A1? Yeah. Unless the board has an objection, I think Mr. Lavin can begin while we get these all passed out, if you're okay with that?
Sure.
Okay.
If the board is okay, what I'd like to do is just explain a little bit of the property. Mr. Regani is here. He is the owner of the property. It's a property at 8520 Monroe Avenue, which is right behind it's on the backside of the Upper Darby Public Works location. And if any of you all are fishermen, it's right across from where Leonard's Sporting Shop used to be. He purchased a lot that it's part of the lot, and you'll be able to see from the drawings, it's an existing twin on one half of the lot, and then the other half of the lot, which we're proposing, we're calling them Lot A and Lot B on the drawings. We would subdivide that, and on Lot B, which is a large open lot right now, we're proposing to put on a 4-unit rental facility. We have all the dimensions and things like that, and what I would like to do is just, I think it may be easier for y'all to take a look at the drawings first and I'll walk you through them a little bit and then move on to the details, if that works for you. I think so, just to give the board an idea of what we're doing here.
I want to say they're 2 pages, right? Yeah, there's multiple sets.
Oh, everybody gets a.
Oh, yeah, everyone can
Yeah,
have
she-
one.
You get a set, you get a set.
Y'all, and
We can share.
Two, if you guys want to put stuff on here. We'll get Bob and Deb one.
Thank you. The price of being professional.
If you all could, on the first page of the drawing, there's a drawing of the existing lot. You can see on the
Can you speak into the microphone?
Yes, thank you. On the left-hand side of the first sheet of the drawing, it shows the existing twin, which is shown as 8520 Monroe Avenue, on the left-hand side. The existing sidewalk, and then on the right-hand side of the second part of the drawing is a large empty lot. Can you all see that, or am I making sense here? Correct. That's an all, yes, to the right side of the sidewalk. That's all, that's an existing empty. So there's a twin on the left side, a driveway down the middle, and then a large open lot on the right-hand side of the first drawing. If you flip to the second page, you will see the same diagram, but in place of the large empty lot, we have the proposed footprint of the additional 4 units on that lot with the house there. So and there are a few variances needed for the side setbacks and the size of the lot, but essentially, we believe that, and I can go through the specific variances, but what we would like to do is put a 4-unit development on the empty lot. We will need some additional parking, but there is plenty of parking on the street and in the driveways. And based on, and I'll explain why we want to do it this way, but we think that's the best fit, both economically and for the neighborhood, for the usage there. It will require a variance because 2 units, I believe, are allowed by code or by ordinance, and we're actually proposing to put 4 on. The units themselves are approximately 800 to almost 1,000 square feet for each apartment. So there would be 4 units of that size there, 2 bedrooms each. So that's just a quick overview of what we're proposing to do. And I can have Mr. Rogani get him sworn in, and then we can explain to you why he's wanting to do that, if that works.
Absolutely.
Okay. Why don't you sit down and we'll go. Thank you.
Yes, Kevin Rogan. W-E-A-N.
You solemnly swear that the testimony you give will be the truth. Thank you.
Hold on, just one.
Sure. Okay. And we'll try to make this quick because we're the last ones, right? But Mr. Rogani, if you could just introduce yourself to the board and tell them why you purchased the house, when you purchased the house, and what you've done since you've purchased it.
Yes, thank you, everybody, for having me here and allowing me to speak. My name is Kevin Rogani. I'm a resident of Delaware County. And many years ago, after college, I decided that I wanted to get into some sort of business. And I decided to get into investing in real estate. My background, I'm a chemical engineer. I went to school here at Widener University, and I studied chemical engineering, and I work in the pharmaceutical industry. So as a side business, I decided to get into rental properties, and I started back in 2003. A few years after I started, I got married, and my wife at the time and we saw this property and we purchased it. And I've acquired a couple more properties over the years in Upper Darby Township, which I still own today and have held on to.
Year did you actually purchase the property in?
Yeah, I purchased this in January 2009.
Okay, so you've had it 14 years or so?
Correct.
Okay. What have you done with the property since you purchased it? What's its current condition and how are you using it?
Yeah, so at the time when I bought it, it was vacant. It was a foreclosed property. It needed some tender loving care, basic cosmetic work, and it's been rented out since I purchased it back in 2009. I do have a family that's been living in that property for at least 10 to 12 years, and pretty much in that time frame, just maintained the property and the building, and that's pretty much it.
Okay. Your primary occupation, you work for a pharmaceutical company, you said. What exactly do you do in that? Is building and construction part of your job there?
Right. Yeah, so I work for AstraZeneca, based out of Newark, Delaware. I work in a manufacturing and packaging facility. My roles at AstraZeneca over the last 20 years has been in technical services, project management, quality assurance, maintenance manager, and in the last few years, principal engineer. I've worked on various renovation projects within the site, upgrading, renovating, acquiring solid oral dose equipment. One of the last projects I worked on was I was a lead engineer in a 30,000 square foot solid oral dose manufacturing facility, which entailed a concept design to detailed design, issue for construction, and then the construction process, commissioning, qualification, and then eventually tech transfers of various products into the facility.
The other properties you said you owned in the township, could you just tell the board where they are and what you're doing with them?
Yeah, so I've always been somewhat into construction and having some sort of side business. So I decided to get into the rental property business, and I own a couple in Highland Park, in Drexel Hill, and in different parts of, I guess it's Kirkland, I think this area, where the Monroe Avenue is in Kirkland. And I just, maintain them and work with the township to get them occupied and do the yearly inspections and try to find good tenants who take care of the properties and just maintain them and just keep going.
Okay. As far as your existing properties in the township, have you had any problems or citations or fights with the people about them?
Well, there is the times where things get tough for folks, but for the most part, it's been the typical non-payment of rent, basic stuff like that. I haven't had any kind of tenant suits against me or anything of that. I've known the inspectors pretty well, such as Mike Sexton and Jamie. I can't remember Jamie's last name, but had a decent relationship with the license inspection department or health department. I guess that was where I would go in the past before the changes that have happened in the last 2-3 years. I guess there was a consolidation of health department and L&I, I guess sometime around COVID. So,
Okay. Let me just ask you, what, originally, when you purchased the property, what was your intent of what you were going to do with it?
it was essentially as like a backup to my employment. And then over the years, I've just held on to it. And that was pretty much it. And then recently, I noticed, the demand and the market has changed. And over time, with experience of construction projects at my workplace and the constant calls of people wanting to acquire the property, a better financial position, I noticed that, I could do something with this piece of property other than just let it sit. So it just dawned on me, I felt more comfortable at this time to take on a venture of such as this, a construction project. Back in 2009 or 10 or 11, after the Great Recession, it didn't make sense, and I wouldn't felt comfortable to do it back then with all the banks being very restrictive in lending, and it just didn't make sense at that time.
Okay. And as far as you heard the board ask the questions of some of the prior applicants about a hardship of the property, could you explain to the board in your terms what you see the hardship of being with the existing property?
One thing about this property is that it's in a unique situation or location. You have, a lot of the township facility buildings around that area of Upper Darby. You have the sanitation department on the back of it. You got one house down. You got some other township buildings. Then across the street, there's a carpet business directly across the street, and then there's other homes on that street that are duplex and triplex. So it's very mixed. And you have, township vehicles coming up and down Monroe Avenue because, they're going to get fuel. So it doesn't quite fit a location for a single-family home because of the surrounding of that property. It would be difficult to have a single-family home buyer to say, oh, let me buy it in this location and live here for the next 30 to 40 to 50 years with all this other stuff that's happening, to my left, to my right, or to the back, or to the front. So it appears there's a high demand of rental with Upper Darby having access to public transportation to the city, close to Westchester Pike, close to City Line Avenue, close to Lansdowne Avenue, where there's a lot of public transportation, that it makes sense to have a rental property in that location rather than a homeowner who's going to live there for 30x plus years. It doesn't quite fit like other parts of Upper Darby Township because it's very mixed used area with semi, I guess, not commercial like businesses, but industrial in terms of the type of atmosphere that's around there in terms of the type of vehicles and the activity. There's not just the township buildings. There's other businesses down the street that have construction equipment on site,
Okay. Let me, one of the things I'd like to do for the panel is, and with your help, is have you walk through Exhibit A4, which I handed you a copy of. And I think the panel has, the first sheet on that, what we've marked as Exhibit A4, shows the neighborhood and it shows basically red and yellow. Could you tell me what the red is and what the yellow is, and point out to the board where your property is located on that map?
Yeah, red is, I guess, zoned as commercial. Yellow is commercial, is identified as residential. I'm not an expert in this field, but I think some of the yellow might be R3. I don't know if there might be other Rs, but in the way it's showing, there's usage of some of these lots that are not really Rs, they're Cs. And my property on, the way I could best describe it is, the red is Westchester Pike, and then it comes to City Line Avenue or Baltimore Pike, and then comes down to Lansdowne Avenue. The dark purple in the far left is where the substation, Pico Energy, distribution of power. And then my property is essentially the fourth one in the row of blocks between the reds on the bottom, if that makes sense.
Yeah, let me just have you flip to the next sheet, which
Okay.
is actually an overhead view, and I believe it shows your property with the little red
Dot.
pin dot on there. And if you could, just on the paper, just to the left and downward from the little pin mark, that is what's shown as red in the prior page as the commercially zoned area. Is that correct?
The best way I could describe it is, so you got this like big yellow sliver that sticks down. Those are mixed type of facilities. I think a sanitization department. I'm right across from the sanitization department. So I'm the one of those bigger lots next to the tiny slivers. I guess there's used to be abandoned, or there was a train tracks that ran between the red and the yellow in this section. I don't know if it's clear or if it could be posted up here.
Let me just keep flipping, and we have some videos that'll show this to you pretty obviously, but let me just flip you to the third sheet there, and that says 8523 Monroe at the top. Could you describe to the board what that is and where that's located?
Yeah, so 8523 Monroe, 8521 Monroe, and 8519 Monroe are directly across from the subject property, my property, 8520 Monroe. So 8519 Monroe is a carpet business. Typically, there's carpet trucks, 2 of them, parked out front, plus the owner's pickup truck, which you can see in this picture. Where that red Jeep is, directly in front of it is a duplex, which they have parking in the back. That's 8521. 8523 is a triplex. That's also across 8520 Monroe.
Okay. Let me just have you flip to the next page, which is around the corner from your current property, at the top it says 18 South Harwood Avenue. Could you just describe to the board what you're trying to illustrate in that photo or that exhibit?
'18 South Harwood, I guess that's the 4th page.
Yes.
That is I don't know what to call it, but it's 3 structures. It's zoned as R3, but it's a large garage in the back. I think it was once used or is used, I'm not sure, as a mechanic shop, or it was in the past. I'm not sure, but there's multiple structures on that property.
And then if you could just flip to the last sheet there, which has 8512 Lansdowne Avenue, and explain to the board what you're showing in that exhibit or that photograph.
Yeah, so you can see 8520 Monroe Ave in the top center with that arrow pointing. That's the actual property, my property. What we're looking at in this picture is the sanitation department. That's right behind my property.
And you're, that's looking at it from Lansdowne Avenue, that
Correct.
photograph? And then your property, if you could just show the board where your property is from the backside, or where your property appears in that photo.
Yeah, it's right where that arrow goes, and then this other little building with the A-frame is my neighbor's.
Okay. Let me also have you turn to what is Exhibit A3, and there are two Google Map photographs there. And the first page of Exhibit A3 is a closer Google Maps photograph or satellite view of your current property. Is that fair?
Right.
And then if you could, on the second page of that, show the board where the commercialization and all the commercial property is there on the second page of A. Is that 3 or 4?
This is A3, page 2.
Okay.
It's like a bird's eye view. The red marker is the subject property. And then you can see the abandoned train tracks where there's like big, huge poles, I guess, that carries the power lines. And then there is the sanitization department. Then Monroe comes down and then connects into Lansdowne Avenue. And then you can see in that surrounding area, the other activity that's going on.
Okay. A couple more here, we'll keep moving. I'm trying to do this quick. Let me show you what I've remarked as A5, which is a series of 3 photographs at night. And if you could describe to the board what's being illustrated in those photographs.
Yeah, so A5 is some pictures. The first one is like standing in the backyard. That's the view to the sanitation department and a open shed with road salt.
And the other photographs or other views from
Yeah.
your property at nighttime?
Correct. Yep.
Are the lights on all night in there? Or could you describe what your
Yeah.
knowledge is of that?
Yeah, they're on late at nights. I think they're on just for security purposes. There's a lot of, I guess, township equipment and stuff, you know.
Okay. I was going to ask Josh to show a couple of videos. What I'd like to do now for the board is show 2 videos and have Mr. Rogani explain why he took the videos and what they illustrate. So if you could just start with that first one there. Thank you. And if you could, just tell us when you took these videos.
Sure.
So, Mr.
I'm sorry.
Lavin, just
Yeah.
not to throw off your
No, that's
train
fine.
of presentation here, but while they look at these videos, maybe something you can address from a board. I understand you're going through this, and if maybe, oh, go ahead.
Please. This is driving down Monroe Avenue. Mr. Rogani,
Right.
just explain what we're seeing
Yeah,
there.
so that's the subject property. This is the lot. And then this is the direct neighbor. And then this is some of the township facility buildings.
I guess, Mr. Lavin,
Yes.
the question here is, you presented a lot of testimony about the surrounding uses, several of which are residential, in the residential zone.
Correct.
I think the board would follow your line of testimony if you were trying to tell us that you wanted to use this property for something other than residential, based on the
Right.
identification of all these commercial properties,
Mhm.
but you want to continue to use this as residential.
Correct.
Just for more units than are permitted on the property.
Correct. Correct.
So-
And a little bit on the setbacks are a little bit smaller than they should be. Correct.
But I guess my question would be, for the board's benefit, why can this not be developed as a single-family attached, single-family semi-detached, single-family detached, which would potentially be able to develop by right without relief?
Correct. Let me, and I can ask Mr. Rogani to explain that from an economic standpoint. He's done the
I mean,
numbers.
there's
can
no one here
explain
to
that.
oppose. If you want to do an offer of proof and have him adopt, the board is also
Okay.
fine with that.
Essentially, from an economic standpoint, the only way that the numbers will work out for construction costs is to put 4 units on there. From a single family development, we don't think any family would buy it for what it costs to build the house in that location in the midst of a commercial, kind of quasi-industrial area. We don't think a family would want to move into that property. But we think it would be less expensive and more beneficial to newer families or people starting off to have a safe place to live in that area for a less amount of money. And Mr. Rogani can tell you, he's pretty familiar with that market, and if he could just address that briefly, I think that may help.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask, and, because I had a few
Sure.
questions along those lines, but I don't know if you want to wrap this up first, but I did have I want to clarify, the variance relief needed is for the 4 units, not for any multifamily, or is it at 2, would it still need a variance relief? For the use only, putting aside the dimensional for a second.
Yes, the maximum allowed multifamily is 2 units in the R3. Our R4 district is what we'll use for triplexes and up.
Okay, so I have a line of question about that, but I'll let.
Sure, and there,
You're permitted to build a twin with 2 units apiece if they have.
That's exactly
Right.
where it's
We
going.
get into the last one, but it's based on the 10,000 plus square foot lot. This could be subdivided into 2 lots and built twin, but not 4 units.
That's where I was, well, okay, that's where I was.
sure. And let me just have Mr. Rogani answer the questions from an economics and from a market standpoint. He's pretty familiar with the rents, what the rents go for and things like that. So if you can do that, that'd be great.
Yeah, based on the size, building 4 units, in the terms of economy of scale, it makes better sense than just to build 2 units. So I'd rather go with 4 units than 2 units with the amount of space and the depth. I think it still could withstand the number of parking spots for 4 units than 2 units. Plus, I'm looking for, in the sense of not a homeowner to live there because of the surrounding. This is something like a rental where people are there for a short period of time and are going to move on to something else bigger or different.
Just oh, I'm sorry, as
No,
far
go
as,
ahead.
tar-
I want
as
you to
far as
finish so we
target,
can
no,
get
no,
to
that's fine.
questions.
As far as target tenants, what sort of tenants do you typically
Yeah.
place in your units?
Yeah, young professionals, young families, single couples, single person. That's the type of demographic. It's not a 3-bedroom with a garage, 1.5 or 2 bath.
Okay. Sure. I'm sure you had more questions. I just wanted to get that one in real quick. Go
Please
ahead.
finish so that we can, because, yeah, I
And-
want you
and-
to get
and
all your.
Typically, what do the rents go for apartments like this in Upper Darby?
So, two-bedroom, depends on condition, location, and size. It could range from 1,100 to 1,500. One bedroom, it varies also on size and location and number of steps, the layout, et cetera. Say about 750 to 900. It just depends on the finish. And then a three-bedroom also varies on size and location and its surroundings. So it could go from 1,400 to 2,100.
And the apartments you're proposing, the 4 units, are approximately what size?
I think about 950 square feet on average.
And they're all 2-bedroom units?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, it depends on area to area. So, in Drexel Hill, I think for new construction and the finish, it could be 12 to 1,300. Yeah, today's market is completely different than 3 years ago.
And do you have an approximate cost of what it would cost you to construct?
Yeah, I'm hearing today, nowadays, about $300 to $400 per square foot.
And how many square feet is the proposed?
I think it's just under, I think per floor is 2,000.
Okay.
4,000 square feet-ish.
So you're looking at putting,
A significant amount of money, yeah. I don't think this is like a money-making exercise in the short term.
so is it fair to say you would be spending close to $500,000 to put
Oh,
that
yeah,
in there?
absolutely.
Okay, possibly more?
Probably,
And to recover those rents, you would need to have 4 units as opposed to 2?
correct.
Do you think you could sell a single-family home in that location for 600,000 or 600?
No, not in that area because of its surroundings. If this was positioned off of Lansdowne Avenue, on the other side of Lansdowne Avenue, where the Delaware Memorial Hospital or Bonner, or in a different neighborhood, that might be a different story. But not in this location with a carpet business across the street, a duplex across the street, a triplex across the street, various type of, industrial, whatever, commercial, further down the street, and then behind the property. So the property is kind of in a very unique, awkward location.
That's really all the questions we have. I do have the architect here, Thomas Wiedemann, who can testify about why he designed it this way. But
We have
you'll have questions for
questions
Mr.
for-
Regani. Yeah.
The applicant, we can ask them now. Are you not, do you want to hear from the architect first? I mean, let's have the architect's
we'll bring the
testimony, and then
architect
we'll
up.
make
Sure.
both witnesses available for questioning.
Thank you.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give will be the whole truth? and so help you?
You could, sir, just tell the board your name and what you do and how long you've been doing it.
My name's Thomas Wiedemann. I have a small firm in Havertown. Been an architect for about 30 years now. And we mainly do residential. So We're working on multifamily, single-family additions, new single-family houses, mixed-use buildings.
Okay. And your firm and you were prepared what we've got marked as Exhibit A6?
Yes, those are our drawings.
Just hand that to you. What was your task when Mr. Regani hired you? What did he tell you wanted to do, and what did you do?
Well, he wants to do a full renovation of the existing house that's there. That probably has to wait till the family that's there moves out. They've been there for quite a while. He's trying to work with them in the meantime to fix it up. There's a very large lot next door to it, and that's where he wanted to put the twin. It's actually 4 units, but it's gonna basically look just like a twin. That's the design that we're going for.
That was one of my questions. Why did you design it the way you did, from a look and feel standpoint, I guess, first?
Just so it'll fit in with the neighborhood. There's a couple large buildings very similar to it right along that side of the street.
Okay. And as far as the design from the difference between a 2 and a 4-unit design in that space, what were your thoughts on that? And can you express to the board why you were thinking in that direction?
Well, it's a nice footprint that you could easily get 2 units on each floor. They're large 2-bedroom units. Also, once you go into the 4 units, you're in the International Building Code. It's a lot more restrictive. It's going to be sprinklered, fire alarms. It's going to be really nice for the neighborhood. I think it's going to be some of the nicest apartments around. They're going to be brand new, and I think it'll be very nice.
Okay. And as far as variances dimensionally, I think you've got a chart there that we're within, I don't want to be too casual about it, but essentially we're within 2 or 3 feet on either side of the property of what the ordinances require from a footprint standpoint. Is that fair?
Yes, from a footprint, yes. But
Okay.
once you do the 4 units, then obviously you need quite a bit of square footage for
Yes.
the lot. So you're,
You heard some of the questions from the board before. Do you have any answers to the questions before they start asking you some individually to the prior questions they asked?
well, I guess economically, I think Kevin answered that fairly well. It's, a building of this size, it's easily, it's going to be around 800,000, I would think. And, with the way prices are now, people can't afford a new house. And, in this area, you probably if it was a twin, they'd probably have to sell for around 600 just to really break even. I think the product that he's looking to do here is going to be beneficial to the neighborhood. It's, they're nice size units, they're decent sized 2 bedrooms, and, they're going to be very safe.
That's really all the questions I have. I can turn it over to y'all. Go ahead.
I thought it. Okay. I just want to level set for a second.
Sure.
Economics of the project, kind of to the side. The existing structure, 8520, right? That's you. That building is on the parcel that you own as well.
Correct.
On the far left side.
On the far left. Okay. Or I guess to the left of the sidewalk and driveway, right? So, what's right now that's being rented to a family as a single family?
Correct.
And the proposed, I guess, once you get a chance to renovate that, you're going to renovate it as a single family again? or make it into multifamily?
I haven't had a chance to even think about what to do with that. They've been in there quite a while. I've had conversations with them that they want to be there for, I think, at least 2 more years, because it was a family of 6 kids and a couple. The wife unfortunately passed away, and it's a single man who's got 6 kids, and he asked that they could stay there until the youngest is finished their senior year through the Upper Darby School District. And they've been great people, and, you know, I would love to honor that for them since they've been there quite a while, and I don't want to, you know, cause any disruptions in their, you know, in their living situation. Some of the kids have moved on, but, you know, they come back for whatever, holidays, birthdays, etc. So I wouldn't want to disrupt them on, you know, changing anything in a short term, for sure.
Okay.
And they're aware of what I'm looking to do. I told them, I don't know what's going to happen, but, you know, we could talk about it if whatever is decided.
That building, 8520, how many stories is that?
So I might not know the proper terminology, but it's got,
I guess from ground level.
yeah, it's 2 stories plus I guess I'll call it a third, but it's a half of a third.
2.5, they call it.
2.5, right?
And the proposed subdivision is immediately, the dividing line for the proposed new parcel is immediately to the right, or excuse me, is the driveway included in the new parcel, or will that be in the remainder parcel for the existing?
I think he's looking to do a shared driveway.
Okay, but I guess in terms of the placement of the property line, it'll be running through the middle of the driveway, is essentially what you're saying?
Basically, yeah, it's about the middle.
And I guess the expectation, I guess despite kind of what's shown here, is that wherever it is, it'll be a 10-foot setback to your proposed building?
Yeah, 10'4" from the existing building to the property line, and then another 10 feet to the new building.
Okay. And so, I guess, and this, I think, was along the lines of what we kind of were broaching earlier. I think, I guess what I'm having trouble understanding is why, so I understand we want to do 4 units, right? But to me, it looks, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like much of the dimensional variances are created by the design, right? Because why couldn't you just have, you subdivide this lot and just build 2 more twins, 2 units each? You have 4 units, and you no longer have the setback dimension variances, you no longer have the building width, the building
there'd
width
be-
variance.
Yeah, I think.
It
the
seems like
building
we
width-
eliminate most of the dimensional variances if we just have 4 units split up between twins like the neighboring property.
Yeah, you would still have variances, but yeah, it could be done that way.
I believe lot area is the big issue there.
And
Because
Barely, right?
They would
Wouldn't
need, they would need 6,000 square feet per lot to have 2 units in a twin.
Yeah.
You need a 12,000 square foot lot to subdivide. Yeah, I mean, it's still, I mean, it depends on
Yeah.
which metric you want to use, but they would still have that issue, yeah.
That would be, because the use would be allowed, right? It would just be based on, similar to that, to the case earlier where it was the 3,000 that limited the multiple units. It would
Same
basically
standard.
be that, but for the building.
Right.
That seems to me like a lower variance than,
Yeah, I guess it would take
Kind of
out the use
multifamily.
variance, but you'd still have bulk variances needed.
Would that change building coverage?
Yeah, lot coverage and setbacks.
well, the setbacks, it would be removed, right? Because right now we have it at 10 feet at this building.
A
But just
two-family,
the aggregate.
Yeah, I think
would-
the setbacks would be fine.
yeah.
there's no aggregate for, in that, we're looking at the very last box there, right? The R3, table 4.2. Yeah, but I'd be curious about the 30%, the 30% maximum building coverage.
When
Right, I
you-
mean, and all this is under the lens of like needing 4 units, so that's sort of the premise of
Yes.
kind of.
It would be semi-detached, right, Josh? So it'd be 40%. Be a two-family semi-detached dwelling. Just so we're all looking at the same thing.
Yeah, you're correct. I'm looking at it attached.
We're still at 10-foot side yard setbacks, but I just want us all looking at the same thing. Twin would be semi-detached.
40%, yeah, that's better.
I think, so, I guess sort of the guys, sort of the backdrop of my questioning is, the proposed lot would essentially be a vacant lot. In terms of minimum variance sought, in my eyes, we're actually, and as designed, we're basically seeking a variance in every way, right?
Correct.
But once it's subdivided, I think you have some flexibility in the design to mitigate some of these variances. Because I don't necessarily, and again, this is under the premise that you're still seeking the 4 units. So I'm not trying to take a unit away from you per se. I don't know if I necessarily agree that it has to be 4 units, but let's just, for the sake of conversation, say that we're utilizing 4 units. I think that I think there might be opportunity to kind of maybe go back to the drawing board and kind of see ways that the flexibility that this vacant lot gives you is like rare. We don't have, Upper Darby doesn't have vacant lots.
Correct. Correct.
It's just
Yes,
not a thing
yes.
here.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if we're maximizing that flexibility with this proposed design, which if you seek every variance kind of under the sun, you don't have to, right? But I think we should try to attempt to try to maximize that flexibility outside of just kind of seeking the variances. And again, I'm not diametrically opposed to the density per se. But just to get 4 units, I don't know if this proposed design kind of brings to the table what's possible here. And frankly, for your business, in terms of flexibility of what you can do with having two buildings of 2 units each allows more flexibility than one for lots of reasons. You don't run into IBC, right? Because there are 2 units per building. That's not a zoning issue, but since it was brought up in testimony, it mitigates some of those costs there. So I just think you might want to kind of go back to the drawing board a little bit in that regard. Sort of.
One other question that I have, and it's probably, it doesn't relate to this, our requirements to rule on this, but have you ever done your soil testing in that area? Because you were talking about how the other buildings and the other things were not very far away.
Yeah, there hasn't been any soil testing done at this point, but obviously when he starts to build, he's gonna have geotech.
Might want to do that before he goes on.
That's,
Sanitary,
un-
what
un-
you said, what was that, like the sanitary facility?
I think it's actually, isn't it Public Works?
Public Works.
I don't think it's yet.
It's not, it's,
We'll have our machinery repaired. Machines-
right, maintenance yard, Public Works, are the 2 township
The,
buildings there. Highway Department.
Bins for the salt and other things that are there, so they get in the air.
Okay, that's a good point.
very good point. I think, well, I don't want to speak on behalf of my client, but I think he will say, and I'll let him answer himself, but I think he would be willing to go back and take a look at things and then maybe come back and make another proposal to you, but I'll leave that up to
Do
Kevin.
you want to take a 2-minute recess to discuss with your
Yes,
client?
thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have them do a continuance?
So,
Yes.
do you want to keep going tonight, or would you like to take an opportunity to see if you want to submit some revised plans and maybe revise your lease?
I think based on the discussions between my client and the architect, we'd like to take a look at submitting some revised plans.
Would you like to continue for 30 days or 60 days or indefinitely and we'll renotice?
30 days should.
30 days? We'll let them hang themselves, depending on what.
Well, I guess, so we would continue to the March meeting, which would be, if my thing works here, the 26th of March.
Okay.
Do you think it's sufficient time to explore so, actually, I'll rephrase that.
Sure.
Notice will have to go out, if you're changing your relief, notice will have to go out the end of next week. We would need it submitted by the end of next week.
Tuesday. April would be best.
Just to give you, because otherwise, I think it's probably better to have the time to be like.
Sure.
Yes. With that short fuse, I agree.
So then
Come back in
applications are
April.
due the first week of March, or I'm sorry, April at that point to advertise for the April meeting.
Exactly. That's
So
when
that
we
would
need
give
to
you
review.
30 days to actually do your plans and get something into the township, and then we would hear it at the end of April.
Okay.
Yeah, technically, our next application cutoff is 1 week from today for the March, yeah.
So we will put this into continuance then until April 30th, 2024. Yep, because it's Passover. April 30th. But we will renotice regardless of the issue, but we'll plan for this to be on the April calendar.
Thank you.
So you will have the submission deadline for revised relief will be, I'm assuming it's April 9th then at that point? Yeah.
Got it.
But as always, the sooner you have conversations with Josh, the better.
We'll firm it up.
Yes.
We have a motion for continuance to April 30th. Okay. Any objection?
Thank
We
you.
are continued. 7 PM, this room, April 30th.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Yep, thank you.
All right.